good to see you both. And enjoyed the movie. It's one of those things where, of course, you've heard the story about John Brown. And I guess one of the descriptions that always said about him was he was this kind of like wild and crazy guy, but he was on his mission. And I got to tell you, Ethan, you portrayed him very well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
And also then, like for you, Joshua, really your character is the narrator of the story, talking about everything that goes on. Tell a little bit about that experience.
It was a new experience for me doing voiceover because I've never even, I don't even think I had a voiceover audition before, even attempting to do voiceover in the show. And it was a little difficult for me just because I was just learning the dialects and I wasn't really fully into the character when I first started narrating. So it was kind of hard for me to connect with a lot of stuff that Onion was talking about and what he was saying. But once the show progressed and I had a lot of help from my mom, from Ethan, from directors and producers, I was really able to tap into what Onion was really talking about when he was narrating the show, and it became easy from there.
Yeah, like I said, there was a whole interesting aspect to that. Then I even have to say, like, Ethan, for you, especially considering a lot of things going on, this is definitely an important movie for people to see.
That's why to make it, James McBride won the National Book Award for this novel in 2013. And when I read it, I had that strange feeling that you get in your heart where you just want to give it to everyone.
Right.
And I kind of felt like if we don't talk about this, we don't really understand this country. And this work, his writing, gives you an avenue to talk about it that doesn't hurt too much. Oftentimes telling these stories, looking at this time period of U.S. history, it just hurts too much.
Right.
And he lets you see it with wit and with humor. He turns every story on its ass and flips it around, and you never know when he's joking and when he's serious. I mean, it was a great moment. I was reading the book in bed as you do, and I just couldn't stop laughing. And my wife said, what are you laughing about? And I said, this novel. And she goes, I thought it was about John Brown. And I'm like, it is. I'm like, but it's hysterical. Mm-hmm. And so then I just felt in my whole heart, it needed to be seen.
Yeah, I was going to say, like you said, a lot of funny parts. And even though these two movies are completely different, but it's almost like with what Mel Brooks did with Blazing Saddles. He made everything so funny, but it opened your eyes. And
people get their defenses up all the time. They see things in one way, usually the way their parents taught them, right? That's the way most of us are. And humor is the great tool. I mean, I've learned more from Richard Pryor and Chris Rock and Lenny Bruce. And, they're the people who make you think in a different way because laughter's spontaneous. They say something and you laugh at the hypocrisy. And then you go, right, that's true. And it changes your brain. And I think that McBride manages to tell the story of John Brown, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Harper's Ferry, the start of this nation's greatest struggle, the Civil War. He tells it in a way that it gets into your heart,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was going to say, Joshua, for you, as a young man of color, you've heard all these stories. What was that feeling like for you when you were portraying your character? Because, I mean, obviously everybody's got to be, serious and act right on with what the situation is.
Well, what it was for me portraying the character of Onion, it was kind of personal, for me, because when you think of Onion, he was kind of in the middle of the spectrum. He didn't really fit in with white people. He didn't really fit in with African Americans in the show. And so that's the same for me in real life. A lot of times it's, I'm either not white enough or I'm not black enough. And it's a lot of the in-between type of stuff. And so to be able to play a character that you're kind of connected to on a different level than just reading the script, but like on a personal level, was an amazing feeling.
Oh, I can imagine. And just with what you said, fitting in the middle. Yeah, my wife has the same background you do. So, she would tell me about different things growing up about, each side of the family is like, we don't know, leave it alone, stop. And again, for you, Ethan, yeah, being one of the executive producers that's great. And also by having James there along as well, just had to be something fantastic.
You know, people say this kind of thing, but for me, when I met James, you know, we have this idea as a young person, you have this idea of what a novelist would be like. Like, what's Leo Tolstoy like, right? You imagine them as wise and kind and profound, and you know, because of the insights you feel in the writing. And then so often in real life, you meet the real writer, and they're a jerk, or they're, you know, they're hateful, or they're obsessed with their shoes or something that's surprising. And McBride is one of the most loving, dignified, supportive. He had my back every step of the way. And because he gave me that, it made me want to have his back even more. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those great opportunities that the arts has provided me, where you get to be in dialogue with somebody you really admire, and you learn a lot from them because of it. And so it's a great honor. No joke.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Joshua, great meeting you. Ethan, good seeing you again.
Great seeing you again.
All right. And make sure Detroit checks this thing out. Take care, guys. B. Diggs, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Good to see you again. How are you?
Doing well. Good to see you, too, and look forward to you coming back to Detroit for another tour of the Motown Museum.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
That was a lot of fun. And this movie was a lot of fun and also very eye-opening. Obviously, you've got characters who we've all heard of. I mean, you're playing Frederick Douglass, but this is kind of like a different turn on Frederick. That was cool.
Yeah, I loved it. It was the thing that, you know, I read James McBride's novel and fell in love with it, and just hit Ethan like, what do I have to do? I want to be in this. This is, if I'm ever going to play Frederick Douglass, this is the one I want to play. So I think McBride did such a great job of like humanizing him and letting us see him as a real person. This is someone that we tend to, in our community, particularly tend to deify in a lot of ways, and because his work was so important. And I think, to me, I like that his work can still be important, and he can be a human, and he can be ridiculous. We are ridiculous. We are, like, all of us, our heroes included. So I loved that about this project.
And that's for sure. I mean, it's one of those where, of course, there are a lot of, you know, serious moments throughout the movie, but then I guess you'd say, humor or the satire that was put in was great, because it made you laugh, made you smile, but then also it opens your eyes to, you know, whatever that situation was, and goes, okay, this part's serious, but, you know, everybody's taking it just, you know, too much.
Yeah.
And we just need to change things.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things in the story that just, like, I loved the Jim character who would just like join up with John Brown's army, and then every time like it started getting into a tricky situation, he'd just leave. He'd just steal a horse and run away because he ain't trying to die. That's what he was trying to escape slavery. What's he gonna die for? Like that, you know, that is human, and it's hilarious, but it's also true. Like, you know.
You're gonna be laughing. I already told, you know, my friends and family, I said, you got to watch this, you know, check this thing out, because again, you know, considering everything that's happening now, and you see, you know, like 100 and some odd years ago or whatever it was, or 100 years, that, okay, not a lot has changed, but I mean, a lot has, but, you know, hopefully the right people will see this and realize, okay, we still got a lot more change to do.
Yeah, I think I know, you know, a big part of McBride's mission in all of his work is to just force us to stop ignoring the parts of history that are uncomfortable. Right. And like combat a little bit of the intentional hiding of certain things. I didn't know about the raid on Harper's Ferry, not in any like reasonable way, you know? Mm-hmm. And that feels intentional. That feels intentional because like a small group of people managed to do a whole lot to change the course of the country. And that's a dangerous thing for a country to let you know. You know, that's one of the most fascinating things about learning history is then you start to think about, well, why didn't I learn that when I was younger? Like, what's the methodology behind that? Because this is a cool story. It's the kind of story that like, it's action packed. There are all kinds of things that kids would really get into about this story. So what's instructional about it that maybe people don't want you to know, you know, or a power system doesn't want you to know, that it's not in service of status quo to learn.
Right. And no, you're absolutely right. Because like even when I was growing up, especially, it was, Black history was 2 pages, and that was pretty
Right.
much it, in the book. Where,
Right.
yeah, something like this should be shown in schools or virtual schools and
Right.
things
Right.
like that, and then open it up for discussion. Because
Yeah.
that's what people need to do, to talk, communicate, so then we can figure out things better.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully people find it useful. I mean, I'm an entertainer. Like I love art to be entertaining,
Hmm.
but I also like it when it's useful. That's a lot of people. It was very gratifying to me that a lot of people found Blind Spotting useful, and I hope people
Hmm.
find it useful.
Right. And terribly sorry, I think we're the only family that still has a landline in the
Yes,
United
get it
States,
in.
and it is ringing right there. Probably somebody in LA going, "You're talking to David Diggs right now?" Hello, I just love all of his stuff. So, yeah.
It's all good, man. I barely hear it.
Okay, good.
Not bothering me. We good.
All right, well, great. But yeah, this was, like you said, very, very nice project, good project. And Detroiters, get out there, check it out on Showtime. Very, very good. And also, I have to tell you from my coworker on the radio, her name is Dana Clark. She has seen Hamilton, I think, 250 times.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I told her I was going to talk to you. She said, tell him I said hi. So hi from Dana.
Hi, Dana. Stop watching Hamilton. That's enough. You've seen it.
Well, fantastic, David. Always a pleasure seeing you, and look forward to
Good.
seeing you again on the next time.
You too, Greg. Thanks a lot.
How are you, Mr. McBride?
I'm very good. And yourself?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Well, nice to be in Motor City, at least
All
in a
right.
spiritual way.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'll make sure that the people here in the Motor City check out this project.
Hey, does Rick Mahorn live in Motor City?
I think he is still here. I used to, before everything happened, I used to run into him at the mall or, someplace or a movie theater every once in a while.
All right.
Next time I see him, I'll tell him you said hi.
Well, I don't know him, but I like him. That's all.
Oh, okay. But yeah. Now you're one of the executive producers of the project, also the author of the book. And of course, John Brown was a real person, but it's really being told by the young fictionalized slave boy, Onion. Now, how did that whole thing come about?
Well, I mean, I wanted someone that, John Brown is seen historically as like a crazy man.
Right.
So you can't tell it from his perspective because, because he's, quote unquote crazy. But I wanted someone to tell his story from the perspective of a child's innocence.
Right.
And this kid Onion seemed like a good comic character that could kind of show us what a crazy and interesting person he was. So.
And that he did, because it's funny, because you're watching this, and obviously, of course, a lot of serious stuff going on. But then there are a lot of, really, when I say funny, you know what I mean, things that happen. And the best part about those to me is by making people laugh, that hopefully opens their eyes to what the situation is. They're not just going, oh, yeah, but then they're looking, hey, we're laughing at this and we really shouldn't be.
Well, that's the power of caricature and comedy.
Right.
The good comedians can really make us laugh and think at the same time. And that's really what the good Lloyd Bird is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you laugh and think at the same time, so that you don't feel bad. I mean, race is really hard to talk about anyway, without making someone either feel guilty or not heard, or it just becomes like a big boring argument that nobody wants to be involved. Look, I shouldn't say boring, but it's hard to discuss.
Yeah.
This is a way of sharing it in a way that's enjoyable and entertaining, makes you think, but you don't have to get up and change your ways. That has to come from inside. And what comes from inside, if you can get into a person's soul with laughter, you can certainly get into them, get them to at least think about a different perspective.
I agree with you, because just when you said comedians, still Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker is still one of the ones we watch all the time around here.
Yeah, he's talented. Brooklynite, I'm proud to say.
All right.
Well, he's a guy who makes you think, and the good ones do.
Right.
And so that's really what we're trying to do. I think Ethan Hawke's portrayal of John Brown is very funny, and Joshua Johnson's portrayal of this kid. This young boy is a very talented kid, and he had a lot of work to do to make that character, come to life on screen.
Mm-hmm. And he really does. I mean, you get involved with his story, you get involved with him, and you know, like even just the way, you know, people were trying to portray him. Is he this? Is he that? You know, what's going on? And like you said, his main thing is he wants to stay around with John and, you know, hopefully make this thing come through.
Yeah, well, interesting enough, while this kid goes around disguised as a girl,
Mhm.
he doesn't fool most black people. You know,
Right.
black women know right away, you know. But so and you know, they're smart enough not to say anything. You know, they just like look
Yeah.
at this moron, you know. So they end up call him a sissy. That's the
Yeah.
closest to so but that's part of the gag as well, you know. We know he's a boy.
Hmm.
The audience knows. The black people in the series know. The
Right.
white people are too absorbed in dealing with John Brown to even think about him. So
Last question.
All right. But yeah, again, very enjoyable. And once again, I'll make sure that everybody in Detroit, you know, hears about this and checks it out. And guarantee, James, whenever I do run into Rick Mahorn again, I'm going to tell him you said hello, and I'm going to tell him who you are.
well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.